Salam everyone, peace be with you. I hope you're doing well. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Of course, every day should be Mother's Day, but this day is a day that people chose to dedicate to mothers. Nothing wrong with that. So happy Mother's Day to you. I hope you have or are having a good Mother's Day or had a good Mother's Day, depending what part of the world you're in. But may every day be Mother's Day. With this day, of course, kind of like a birthday, I guess you can say. So some people would say, why would we need such a day when we already, every day could be Mother's Day? Well, I mean, it's like a birthday. So in any case, last we talked about the second rural exodus. So the second rural exodus, which was the second flight of refugees, Eritrean refugees specifically, and we mentioned some reasons. We said basically what we spoke about is the tensions rose. So between the ELF, which at the time was the only revolutionary group, but it did have a splinter group, not the EPLF. That's not yet to that's yet to come. The splinter group is not mentioned, but it was not the EPLF to the best of my understanding. So tensions rose between the ELF, between the revolutionaries and the Ethiopian government. And so that was the main reason. So and also the ELF was receiving support from Arab nations, from certain Arab regimes across the water. So across the Red Sea, not just from across the Red Sea. I think it was even Egypt was also involved. But it was So in any case, we're going to continue our talk about this same topic today. And let's see what we have in store for us. For those of you interested in Eritrean history, and for those of you who want to know what happened, what is Eritrea, what makes Eritrea, and you want the raw, unbiased, serious answer, you have to refer to early texts such as the treasure that I have in front of me, which is Eritrea, Root Causes of War and Refugees by Mr. WoldeYesus Ammar, one of the pioneers of the Eritrean Revolution. Eritrea, Root Causes of War and Refugees by WoldeYesus Ammar. You can find it online in PDF format if you just search what I just told you. So, and I will include the title in the bio. In any case, before anything, I begin in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. I praise and I glorify him as he ought to be praised and glorified. Let's begin. So, last we spoke, the last sentence we read, naturally the Arab regimes supported the idea. Naturally the Arab regimes supported the Eritrean liberation struggle with material and propaganda. The Soviets, who were closer to these regimes, were not for sure innocent bystanders. So the footnote reads, beside the relatively constant coverage in the press, the Eritrean revolutionaries at one time or another had radio programs in Arabic and Tigrinya from Baghdad, Damascus, Khartoum, and Mogadishu in Somalia. Islamic solidarity programs were also broadcast from Mecca, Saudi Arabia. We mentioned this at the end of towards the end of our last episode. Ethiopia was well aware of these developments and readied itself for another scorched earth operation, which, when unleashed in the spring of 1970, put entire populations in strategic hamlets in the Karan and Sahel regions and the Red Sea coast. So Ethiopia decided it's going to engage in a second scorched earth policy. We're going to basically another genocide. You can call it a genocide. When you're going around killing civilians, this is a genocide. It doesn't matter if you killed, I don't, why would anyone put a number on it? If you go after civilians and your aim is to just wipe people out, that's a genocide. So, yes, it is a genocide. So, Ethiopia put entire populations in strategic hamlets in the Karan and Sahel regions and the Red Sea coast. The ELF operations, which included assassinations of government agents in the towns, the destruction of bridges and derailing trains, did not stop Ethiopia's My type of atrocities in Eritrea. My was a massacre. The My massacre. It was a massacre that took place in Vietnam. The U.S. Nothing new when it comes from the U.S., but definitely a very, 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 very significant situation and tragedy was when American troops opened fire. I don't know if it involved only guns, but they killed innocent civilians in Vietnam in a village. It was hundreds of people, mainly women and children, many women and children. There were no, in my understanding, there were no members of the VC, Viet Cong, Vietnamese fighters there. But these people decided to do what they wanted to do. And it's just, it's just ridiculous. You think that you go to somebody's land and you go and you commit murders over there, and then when those people defend themselves, you consider them evil. It's like, I'm not saying that a person who's defending himself is not evil, in that person is not a bad person, but you're on his land. So if you're not there to help people, but you're there to harm, what? Anyway, so what was going on in Eritrea, the ELF operations, which included assassinations of government agents in the towns, the destruction of bridges and derailing trains, did not stop Ethiopia's My type of atrocities in Eritrea. You can find that in Minority Rights Group, report number 5, new edition, 1976, page 6. Among these atrocities figured the killings that followed the death of the Ethiopian commander of the 2nd Division in Eritrea, General Teshome Ergetu, in an ELF ambush on the 21st of November, 1970. On the 27th of November, the Ethiopians rounded the 120 villagers of Basik Dira in a mosque and machine gunned them. 20 villagers and machine gunned them in a mosque. 8 survived to tell the tale. Same source, Minority Rights Group, report number 5, new edition, 1976, page 6. So, 4 days later, on the 1st of December, the village of Ona, then serving as a strategic hamlet, was burned, and 625 of the villagers were killed. 625 people were killed. Of the villagers were killed. Same source. You can go to the Minority Rights Group report. On the 27th of January 1971, 60 elders were killed while praying in a mosque at a village not far from Elabaret. Martial law was already declared on the 16th of December 1970. The massacres continued unabated. In Ethiopia currently, something similar is going on. Similar situation. I mean, you have a similar situation that happened in Tigray that's happening in Ethiopia. And may God forgive me, I was ignorant. I used to say, we should go back to Ethiopia. My intentions were good. My intentions were pure. It was a tribal unity thing, which is nice. Nobody who's sincere would disagree with tribal unity. The issue is not with the tribes. The issue is with the system that's in power. Well, what makes Isaias any better? Isaias is not any better. But we still got independence, as I mentioned in the last episode. The only solution to this type of situation is independence. That's the only solution. Of course, you have to be careful who you put in charge. And me, I blame, and I think others would agree, I blame a lot of the revolutionaries. I would blame the revolutionaries for this, and we can talk about why later on. But in any case, That's the only solution. Unless you want to continue living under someone who's just going to put you through hell all the time. Come on. So, massacres. So we have 625 villagers killed in Ona. We have 120 villagers in Basik Dira in a mosque killed. And then we have 60 elders killed while praying in a mosque at a village not far from Elabaret. So we have these kinds of Milai type massacres. And by the way, as an Eritrean, all of my love, respect, condolences, and sympathy goes to go to the Vietnamese people and their story. This generalized terror created big flights into the Sudan, where the total refugee population reached 54,000 people in late 1971. 54,000 refugees in late 1971. A minority rights group report on refugees from the Eritrean Sahel in 1971 noted that 90% of the arrivals at Tokar near the Red Sea were emaciated children and women. Children and women. It added, one, and I quote, one visiting official from a United Nations agency reported in 1971 that he counted over 1,000 graves immediately on the Sudanese side of the frontier. 1,000 graves immediately on the Sudanese side of the border. And that's in the minority rights group that I mentioned earlier, their report. The World Food Program. The World Food Program also reportedly distributed emergency food to about 17,000 of the refugees in that area. But who were those refugees? Who did cross the border to the Sudan and who did not? The rural refugees of the second en masse flight to the Tokar area of Port Sudan were from the Sahel communities, mainly from the Habab and related Tigray-speaking social groups who had their Tigray-speaking kinsmen across the border. I want to make it clear, Tigray is not identical to Tigray. I know that in Ethiopia they call Tigray, Tigray is a name used to refer to Tigray, but it's not the same. So if you want to go back ethnically, yes, perhaps they are related, but ethnically, historically, but currently there is a tribe known as the Tigray tribe, and they speak the Tigrayit or Tigray language. It's called Tigrayit. Yes, there are similarities. They're cousins. Tigray, Tigrinya, and Tigrinya, which are in Tigray as well. So they're cousins, they're relatives. If they want to not reject, you can't change your story, my dear brother or sister. So Tigray is a group of people who are found mainly on the western side of Eritrea. So northwestern, I would say. Yes. So it was mainly the Habab and related Tigray-speaking social groups who had their Tigray-speaking kinsmen across the border. So Tigray-speaking kinsmen across the border on the other side of the Sudan. I may do another, I think I will do another, so we're going to do this part, which is going to be about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to do another one just to finish the section, but because it's very, there's a lot of information that needs to be covered together, God willing. So anyway, so Karan was the most severely affected region by the Ethiopian military campaigns of 1970 to 1971. Yet its people did not go in big groups as refugees to the Sudan. The settled peasants of the Karan area, mostly Bleen and Tigrinya speaking and a good number of them Christians. I want to make it clear. So Karan is a major city in Eritrea. My family lived there. Karan was what the area was once known as Bogos, which is Bogos is basically the Blaine country, that area. So I would say the Blaine, that's their home. That's where a lot of the Blaine come from. I'm half Blaine. My mother is Blaine. And so we are called in the Blaine language, it's Blin. The Tigrinya call us Bilen or Bilen, and the Tigre say Blaine, just Blaine. So in that area, Karan, so we have two major groups of the Blaine. There are the Beit Tawqi and Beit Tarqi, the house of Tawqi and the house of Tarqi. Tawqi is on the west, and they're found in what is known as Halhal. That's what it's called, Halhal. So that's my house. Tawqi is many of them speak Blaine. Unfortunately, in my household, the language was lost. God willing, it will be regained. And it still exists and it's still spoken. Thank God, praise God. So they speak, like my family, they speak mainly Tigre and Blaine. So that's who what the Tawqi speak. In my family's case, they speak Tigre. That's the main language they speak at home. Now, but they also speak Tigrinya, because Tigrinya is a language that's spoken throughout Eritrea, but it's not the only language that exists in Eritrea, because you have Afar, you have Saho, you have other languages. So and other tribes. So when you have, and then on the eastern side you have Beit Tarqi. Beit Tarqi, they speak Blaine, but also Tigrinya, because they share a border with the Tigrinya tribe. So we share a border with the Tigre, they share a border with the Tigrinya. We're all Blaine at the end of the day. And as for the religion, the Blaine used to be mainly Orthodox Christians, but they converted to Islam and Catholicism. That's what the Blaine are mainly. I believe there is a minority, Orthodox Christian minority, but mainly it's Sunni Muslim and Catholic. I personally am not Sunni Muslim. I'm Muslim. I'm just Muslim. But if I were to identify with anyone, it would be the Zaydis and the Mu'tazila. So you can refer to my program on the Islam nobody told you about, and you can learn more about me there and what I believe. So Karan was severely was the most severely affected region by the Ethiopian military campaigns of 1970 to 1971. Yet its people did not go in big groups as refugees to the Sudan. The settled peasants of the Karan area, mostly Blin and Tigrinya speaking, the author WoldeYesus Ammar is Blin, by the way. The settled peasants of the Karan area, mostly Blin and Tigrinya speaking, and a good number of them Christians, had no kinsmen across the border. The Sudan was also relatively far away, about 10 days' walk from the environs of Karan. Self-uprooting was still very much feared, and many people preferred to take chances and stay at home, at least until a later date. So Karan was far, but also many of them were Christians. They had no family across the border, no kinsmen across the border. Also, it was too far. 10 days walk. It would take them 10 days to get there. Take too long. So it wasn't, at that time, it wasn't an action that was taken by them at that time. The years of refugee exodus, 1967 and 1970 to 1971, these particular times, were also years of internal crises for the ELF. Years of internal crises for the ELF. The ELF, the Eritrean Liberation Front, had its own internal problems. During the first period, a few fighters, Kabessans by origin, Kabessans meaning coming from the Eritrean highlands, which are in the southern Eritrea, mainly in areas like Saraya, Aklugzai, and Hamasien. So like Asmara, and cities that are like Saganayti, Dabarwa, these areas that are found in the highlands, which border the Tigray. They border Tigray. So During the first period, a few fighters, Kabesans by origin, left the front, partly because of a generalized tension and ethno-religious distrust caused by the zonal commanders of the army. So now we have arrived at a new topic within a topic. And we're going to continue this on the next episode, which I'm going to make just after this one. But now we have entered a new situation. Very, very significant situation. Very, very significant situation. Yes, indeed. So I will see you guys on the next episode. Always take care. And I'll see you guys there, God willing.